These gaff seances may seem obviously fake to us now, but in those days they were the state-of-the-art productions, and for professional swindlers it was a big business. For those who wish to investigate this further, we suggest The Psychic Mafia by Lamar Keane and various accounts of spiritual skullduggery exposed by Harry Houdini. Now, in 1900, one of the most talented and prolific of the professional con artists using spiritualism and occultism as an MO was a huge, imposing, and powerfully charismatic woman who called herself the Swami, or Madame Horos. Now, returning to the Victorian era in our mind's eye, we might imagine Dr. John Watson asking his famous colleague, "I say, Holmes, do you really believe that horrible Horos woman was actually in contact with the spirits?" And with a sly look and a wry smile, Holmes would reply, "Elementals, my dear Watson." Now, keeping Holmes' deduction in mind, let us again take up the thread of our tale. And early in the year 1900, Mathers and his wife were visited by an extraordinary trio. Madame Horos, her husband Theo, and Dr. Rose Adams newly arrived from the United States, bearing a local recommendation from one of Mathers' influential Parisian friends, and bona fides from the American M.A. Temple of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, founded under Mathers' own warrant some years previous. Not only were their credentials impeccable, but Madame Horos herself displayed a knowledge of secret grade signs, passwords, and order teachings sufficient to convince Mathers that she was a Rosicrucian adept of his own tradition. Well, after gaining his confidence with her carefully researched cover story, she set the hook by revealing to him in a mediumistic state the details of a private conversation he had once had with the late Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, whose spirit Madame Horos claimed she embodied. With the hook now firmly set, she went on to channel the secret chief, or more properly, the secret chieftainess of the order. In this case, the mysterious Sapiens Dominibus Estris, SDA, whom Westcott had fictionalized as Fraulein Sprengel. And she also convinced Mathers of this contact, and he introduced Madame Horos to his Parisian temple members under the SDA motto. And, of course, Anna Kingsford, the original SDA, had died in 1888. Now, as embarrassing and eventually devastating as her deception proved to be, it is to Mathers' credit that he never issued Madame Horos a charter or a letter of authorization. However, he did loan her a neophyte 0=0 ritual, which she did not return. Mathers soon realized that he had been deceived, and he declared Madame Horos and her people persona non grata, but the damage, unfortunately, had already been done. After her Paris, France escapade, Madame Horos, whose real name was Edith Solomon Jackson, spent a year fleecing the marks in Cape Town, South Africa. With a highly publicized and briefly successful occult scam, when the Cape Town Bunko squad made things too hot for them, the Swami and her entourage decamped for London, where they set up a secret temple to initiate prospective dupes into what was alleged to be the Golden Dawn. They pursued this course for several months until the Swami's husband, Frank Jackson, a.k.a. Theo Horos, was arrested for statutory rape. Madame Horos was also charged for aiding and abetting the same offense. The 16-year-old girl victim testified in court that the Horos couple had subjected her to this felonious indignity as part of her initiation into the Golden Dawn. The London press had a field day with the ritual at the trial, and it was soon determined that the Horos operation was not the real Golden Dawn. But in the course of establishing this, the authentic Golden Dawn had to shed its cloak of secrecy and stand naked in the glaring light of the worst publicity possible. And to make matters worse, the oath of obligation taken from the stolen neophyte script was published in the London newspapers with derogatory comments. At this point, many members of the regular Golden Dawn temples quietly resigned, and the sad event set in motion a series of reorganizations, restructuring, and revisions throughout the network of surviving Golden Dawn temples. The name Golden Dawn was changed in Britain to Stella Matutina. Over in France, Mather's Temple became known as the Alpha and Omega. The Golden Dawn Rosicrucians had been hurt and humiliated, but they survived on the merits of their work and no longer depending upon the Sprengel Charter myth or the infallibility of autocratic leaders invoking secret chiefs under new leadership. In England, in France, in America, and in New Zealand, the Order continued its work in one or another of its various forms and venues from the turn of the century to the present day. And it remains the epitome of Western esoteric ritual and practice. No other Rosicrucian order initiates its candidates on the cross of obligation and conducts its rites inside a replica of the tomb of Christian Rosencreutz. The Ruby Rose at Ori Crucis, the inner order of the Golden Dawn, is thus the truest and most authentic of all Rosicrucian orders. Which brings us to the last of our major complaints concerning the Golden Dawn and its alleged connection with the libertine Gnostic philosophy and the practices of Aleister Crowley's Thelemic sect. Now, how can an order that claims to be Rosicrucian also be connected with an iconoclastic and apparently anti-Judeo-Christian faction following the tenets of Crowley's Liber Alta Legis, the Book of the Law? Well, the answer is it cannot and it does not. The Golden Dawn is not Thelemic. And even if an attempt to create a Thelemic Golden Dawn were to be successful, it would still be a philosophical oxymoron. It is not my purpose here to denigrate Crowley or his philosophy or his followers. They get all the criticism they need from my esteemed colleagues. In Crowley's defense, I will say that he really was not the wickedest man in the world, however much he enjoyed that label in the tabloid press, but he might have actually aspired to the title of the world's naughtiest man.